Okay, we're back. That's yellow. That's yellow. Okay? If there's life here in boiling sulfur, there might be life here in giant sulfur explosions. This looks like a snowball that got poo in it. This looks like a really cool marble or some sort of like interstellar explosion. There's water there. They used to think the ice would be a great place to send life because there's water in all three. But now we even know weirdies like this could have life because so does this place. Remember, that's a highway right there. But if you and I stick our hands in that, we lose our hands in seconds. So yeah, there are some life that likes some really weird things. So this whole Yellowstone hot spring smells like rotten eggs and farts, and this whole moon probably does. So we could go ice skating here or burn to death there, but there are bacteria that would love to live on Io given a chance. We saw a little clip from the movie The English Patient. The small holes in the wall are most likely from wind, water, bird's nest vandalism. Come on, we just watched the video. This was the guy that used to be, eventually played Lord Voldemort, so he's like, I'm taking her to the caves. The caves that are called the Cave of the Swimmers. Okay? Now, this is what the circulatory system looks like. Here's a simple view. All these words, forget about it. Blood goes to the lungs. It divides up real fine. And it goes from blue to red because it got rid of CO2, picked up oxygen. It goes to the heart, and the heart goes poof, and squeezes it to your body. Sometimes it presses so hard, you can hear it in your head. Like when you got one of those like headaches, that just like you'll lie down, it's like boom, boom, boom. And then it goes through your body. It splits up through all these little tubules things here that I represent the body like this. And then it heads back to the heart, all sluggish, and boom, out it goes again to the lungs. Now, the heart itself needs blood supply. So the heart diverts a little bit of blood and it goes sneak right across. So these guys get a real short trip. They don't have to go through the stomach and the intestines and all that. They just to like cut and go directly to jail, kind of like Monopoly. It's the shortcut. And those are the coronary arteries, the pulmonary, and the systemic. And you know how you can remember that pulmonary is in the lungs? Because when you go you're making a lot of air. But I will give you these names, right? What I want to know is which one of these circulatory systems, pulmonary, systemic, or coronary, is one that if you block it, you're screwed. You like die in seconds. It's game over. It's bad to have a blockage anywhere. But on one of these three circuits, it's like dead in 5 minutes. A second one is like dead in a few hours or days. And the third one is like they start chopping parts off of you. Can you figure it out? Well, if you block the blood supply to a leg, you're just going to start like falling over with a really sore leg. I've had a clot in my leg once. It's not nice. It hurts. But the rest of you's fine. It's like, oh no, the toes are dying. You're not going to die from that. Blood clot in the body is going to be really bad, but you only part of you will go. Even in the brain, if you get a blood clot in the brain, you get like a stroke, it might only affect part of you. But if you get a blockage in the lung, in a big one, not one of these little tiny guys, but one of the big ones, all of a sudden you've got blood not flowing through your lungs. You're going to like not breathe very well. But that might take a while. Like it could block one lung and you're like, oh, that's really bad. But if you block an artery feeding the heart itself, do you need a rocket science degree to figure that one out? You block a coronary artery, you're dead almost immediately. However, just like the rest of the body, some coronary arteries are really tiny. So if you block a really tiny one, you might have a tiny heart attack that you just thought was like, from eating a bad Cheeto or something, if they can go bad, because I don't think they were ever made out of food anyway. So on my heart, I had this big sucker up here blocked, right like an inch from the heart opening, and it'd just be like I would have been gone had I not already been in the hospital for a bad leg. So they put a spring in my heart to hold it open, and they're called stents, but I call him McStenty because what was blocking the heart could have been from McDonald's. You never know. Please don't sue me if you're McDonald's because I didn't say it was you. In actual fact, it's unlikely because my heart was blocked with bone, which is called atherosclerosis, and I do not eat a lot of bones. So, mine was a bony growth, which is not as good. The fatty growth, it's like you can cut your weight down, but the bony growth, I just have to kind of watch it better in life. So that's all I want you to know about the circulation. Not all these little names, just the basic circuit. If I give you this diagram, could you explain to me those basics? This tree, I wish you to analyze what is at location Agamemnon. I only picked that because it sounds so cool. Location Agamemnon instead of location A. So look at the tree rings right here. Was that because it was a hot couple of years, a cold couple of years, a war, or is a freaking Lorax messing around? What could possibly cause those tree rings to clump together like that? The other thing I'm curious about is, do you see the airplane here? Like every time I look at this picture, it's like there's an airplane. See his wings? And there's his landing gear. And I think that's a tail. And there's even like his propeller. So that's kind of cool. I just can't stop saying the airplane. So what do you think? Well, if the tree didn't grow much, see, the more it grows, the fatter these rings are between seasons. Didn't grow much, so it must have been cold. The Lorax takes care of trees. This is where he would have been. He would have made the rings thicker because he would have fed the trees. Now, when you breathe air, it's got to go into these teeny, weeny, one-celled openings called alveoli. Ravioli. Got little blister packs for air at the bottom. So you got these little tiny balloons. And this lung here, all these tiny balloons in this picture, this lung is like, get that stupid thing out of the way. You see the centimeter markings? So those tar blotches are like less than half a centimeter across. All these alveoli here would fit into a smaller space in this yellow dot. You got 500 million of these little air sacs in your lungs. Now, this is someone who's been smoking their whole life. And so these air sacs have just like, this is a giant ocean of dead air sacs. Now, there's a problem with our lungs. This design is great for absorbing oxygen, but what do you think this design is really poor at? What does it not do well when we collect air in these little sacs? And it's pretty obvious here. They clog. They turn into little peanut butter cups of death tar. So if we built a machine like this, people would say, dude, why didn't you use big flat plates that we could wash off occasionally? These lungs can only take so much clogging and then they get jammed right up and then they'd start dying off. And as they die off, the little tar balls in each coalesce into this big giant one. It's kind of like you got a bunch of little zombies and you smash them all with a baseball bat till there's this zombie soup where there used to be a bunch of them. And you just kind of go, it's just really hard. I mean, you can take a person upside down and shake them all you want. You're not going to shake that tar out. Believe it or not now, they actually are starting to wash some people's lungs. They can put them to sleep and fill their lungs with like a soapy fluid that carries oxygen and like kind of turbo wash the lungs and try to get that out. But yeah, it's the lungs were just never intended to handle smoking.
Steve Winan, Jill Milrose, please contact extension 212. Steve Winan, Jill Milrose, extension 212, please.
I apologize for all that, but I'm trying to make up for the fact that we're having glitchings, and I'm doing this really quick so people with iPhones can watch it. This is really gross. You don't have to watch it, but if you're ever thinking of smoking, yeah. Now, how much I really want you to know on these graphs? I just want your basic understanding. How many ice ages can you count here? Okay, looky. Cold, 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 cold. There's 4. That's not hard. 4 warm spells. Now, you look at this. Does that look like our current warm spell is a tad unusual for the past 500,000? I'd say so. Now, look at these cold spells and warm spells. Do they look randomly distributed through time, or do they kind of look like they're coming and going on a kind of even cycle? So what would be the dumbest possible explanation for this? that the sun could have cooled 4 times like seasons, but really long centuries one?